And welcome to the CBN4 exclusive with the Dominica Psychological Society. I'm SHEENA Harry. Thanks for joining us. And coming up, we have McMillan Cuffy with us. Stay tuned. We'll go a little more in depth with Mr. Cuffy as he tells us a little bit more about the Dominica Psychological Society. Thanks for joining us here on CBN4.
In October, it's just what
What's up with them two?
They can't help it. Everyone gets the freebies with Digicel.
Freebies? Yeah, right.
That's right, it's freebies for everyone with Digicel. Simply top up $20 or more and get your freebies for free talk, 20% more credit, extra megabytes, and more. Only with Digicel.
And welcome back to the CBN4 exclusive. Once again, I'm SHEENA Harry, joining me, McMillan Cuffy from the Dominica Psychological Society. And today, we're going to focus on a few topics, including World Mental Health Day, psychological first aid, and of course, the society's role here in Dominica post-Erica. First off, let's start off, Mr. Cuffy, with you kind of reminding our audience of what the Dominica Psychological Society is all about.
All right, good night, sir. Nice to have me. Good night to the listening public. It's a pleasure to be here. Dominica Psychological Services or Society, Dominica Psychological Society. Really, it's just about a year old. And, you know, it's kind of coincides with World Mental Health Day. You know, we're just about a year old, as I said. You know, last year we got together as a group of professionals who felt that, you know, the psychological services in Dominica needed to be kind of formalized, you know, and that entails really psychologists, social workers, counselors, you know, most of the members are from these disciplines. So, as you remember, last year, Tropical Storm Erica was a big thing, and still is, really, you know, in the minds of Dominicans, a lot of persons affected. And the Dominica Psychological Society played a pivotal role in trying to assist persons to alleviate their mental or psychological and emotional distress. And so we've done a lot of work in this area.
Now, Mr. Cuffy, you mentioned Tropical Storm Erica and how the society has worked with those who were affected by Erica, but get into a little more specifics of exactly what did you do as a society to help? Right.
So, as you know, the whole efforts was coordinated by the government of Dominica, but you know, because of the magnitude of the devastation of Erica, all hands were needed on deck, you know, and so to complement the government's efforts, you know, every other organization, you know, such as the DPS, Dominica Psych Society, you know, came forward to assist in that area of specialty. As you know, they are not, how should I say it? Many, we would like to say, we wish there were more persons trained in the area of mental health. And so we knew that that was an area that was going to be really needed. And so our contribution in assisting the different organizations, you know, whether it's Red Cross, the government, you know, services, whatever way we could in terms of providing, as I said, the psychological and emotional well-being, and to help persons to deal with their distress. You know, as you know, Tropical Storm Erica, persons lost lives. A lot of lives are lost. I think, as a matter of fact, I think Tropical Storm Erica claimed more lives than I think Hurricane David in 1979. So while it was kind of you know, specific communities, I don't know, on a national level, but the kind of damage that Erica caused was really a national, it had a national effect.
Exactly.
Everybody was affected.
Right.
And so we felt that, helping persons to cope with that loss, and something that was unexpected really, and to help people to cope with the loss, not only lives, but, the physical loss in terms of homes, property, and just name it.
So how would you grade, for lack of a better word, say the progress that's been made psychologically by the people that you've spoken to, the people that you've probably counseled between now and then?
Okay, so my personal experience, coupled with, of course, the Psych Society, that's what I can speak to, that's what I know of.
Right.
I know that our members, again, were very actively involved, and I also did a workshop for the Catholic Charismatic Conference earlier this year, and of course, fitting was one of the topics was trauma, loss and grief, loss and grief, and I did that segment of it, and I'll tell you, the response was overwhelming. What I found out was there's still a lot of people hurting out there. I must tell you, one of the areas that I am not, but let's start with the positive.
Sure.
A lot was done in terms of outreach. Persons reached out, persons assisted in the immediate aftermath of Erica. The thing about mental health services is, especially something of that magnitude, there must be follow-up. I felt that because of the kind of response I got from persons who were directly affected from Erica, I got a sense that some people felt kind of hanging, like they needed more follow-up. Continuous, follow-up. And if I were to give you my honest opinion, I think that, there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
And hence, of course, when people come from the immediate aftermath, talking about acute stress disorder, which if persons stress or the stress of the event is not dealt with in a particular time frame, then of course you talk about post-traumatic stress. And it seemed to me that some of the persons who attended that conference showed some signs and symptoms of, post-traumatic stress.
Now, would you say it's just the survivors or would, say for instance, members of the Red Cross or first responders, are they prone to post-traumatic stress as well?
Of course, and that's a very good question. Very good question, because, and hence PFA, psychological first aid, which is really the theme of World Mental Health Day. As a matter of fact, when that whole psychological first aid was developed, first responders was a big part of that. Because, as you mentioned, Red Cross, the police, fire and ambulance services, just name it, first responders, these people, they too experience the trauma, sometimes even worse than some of the persons who are actually victims of. Why? Because these people see, or they saw the dead bodies, they saw the extent, raw damage, and that exposure, they too need that opportunity to ventilate and to diffuse that kind of the emotions that are associated with such trauma.
Definitely.
And so PFA, when it was developed, took in consideration the first responder.
All right. Now, before we get into more about PFA, let's take a quick break. Mr. Cuffy, you'll tell us what exactly is psychological first aid, and we'll talk more about mental illness. Stay with us here on CBN4 for this exclusive with the Dominica Psychological Society and McMillan Cuffy. We'll be back after this.
What's up with them two?
They can't help it. Everyone gets the freebies with Digicel.
Freebies? Yeah, right.
That That's right, it's freebies for everyone with Digicel. Simply top up $20 or more and get your freebies for free talk, 20% more credit, extra megabytes, and more. Only with Digicel.
And welcome back to the CBN4 exclusive. I'm SHEENA Harry once again, and we're talking with McMillan Cuffy of the Dominica Psychological Society, and we're talking about a few things, including psychological first aid. We're talking about World Mental Health Day and just mental illness in general. Now, before the break, we spoke about how people were affected psychologically post-Erica, and you mentioned psychological first aid. Tell us a little bit more about what that entails. What is psychological first aid?
Okay, cool. So psychological first aid really is first response again in terms of delivering mental health services, to persons in distress. And I keep on making reference to Erica because that's what's foremost on people's mind right now. Unfortunately, I cannot help but think of our friends in Haiti right now, in the Bahamas, given Hurricane Matthew and the ravages that it caused. I mean, when you talk about almost 900 persons perish in the hurricane, it's sad,
I keep telling people, just imagine that number of people, God forbid, in our little island, Dominica.
The kind of impact that would have
The kind of impact that would have.
So, so to answer the question though, is psychological first aid speaks for itself. Just as when you hear first aid in Red Cross, first responders, you reach on the scene before the professionals, you do a kind of triage process and you recognize persons in distress that they need psychological intervention, you attend to them. And guess what? Psychological first aid, the way it's designed, it does not necessarily have to be administered by a professional mental health person. But however, the persons that we will do it will of course be trained, as first responders in mental health services to at least give basic mental health services, such as support, basically, just basic support.
Is big.
How are you doing? This in terms of disasters, persons get disconnected with their families, and the Red Cross has a very good program in doing that, reconnecting families with their, persons with their families. And it's all that is about, basic needs, providing, if the person is displaced, homeless, how can you connect the person with the social services that can provide that kind of service, and just be there and give some comfort and support.
Because, Mr. Cuffy, a lot of people overlook the fact that mental illness is a disease. So you get to the scene and you think cuts and bruises. We treat cuts and bruises. But then what about the injury to the mind?
Exactly. And so, unfortunately, again, you're right. Again, in terms of disasters, we pay attention to the physical needs of the individual. And you're right, that we see if an injury, an open wound, and yes, you put a band-aid and so, you take care of that physical aspect of it. You give them some water, all of that is good. But as you rightly ask, what about the person's psychological and emotional well-being? Our body, our health is holistic.
Right.
So, while it is good that we take care of the person's physical health, if we neglect the psychological and emotional well-being, we have not done justice, if you want to say that. And so, psychological first aid seeks to ensure that while some persons are taking care of the physical aspects or the physical needs, that the psychological and emotional well-being is also taken care of.
Right.
Too often we find that enough emphasis is not being placed or paid attention to persons' psychological and emotional well-being. And so as the Dominica Psychological Society, we want to embrace psychological first aid. And, as SHEENA, that reminds me of, I want to compliment the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I was called upon just, was it last month? And I know they have a second part to that this month, where they actually training their members, certifying them in PFA, psychological first aid. I think that was a tremendous initiative on the church part. And I think other organizations should partner on it. Because as I said, in the absence of having sufficient trained professionals in mental health, persons who are trained at a basic level, as first responders, can make a great impact.
Well, that takes me to my next question, the logical question, which would be, who can help? You know, because a lot of people might think, maybe I'm too young, maybe I'm not skilled enough, maybe I might not know what I'm doing, but who can be trained in psychological first aid?
So I believe that the average human being can deliver psychological first aid once the person is trained.
Right.
I have to emphasize training because whoever is certified to deliver that service, you want to ensure that we do good and reduce
Right.
harm,
Right.
harm reduction. Because sometimes, again, if people don't know what they're about, we can end up causing more harm than good.
Indeed.
All right? So there must be training first and foremost. But I believe that, you know, the average human being, you know, a high school student, you know, maybe a third former, we're talking about 15, 16 years, 16, they too have a place. The elderly has a place, you know, because even that, I remember came over the training, people say, well, people have the tendency to think that old people or the elderly don't have a place in society.
Right.
But these people, they too can help their members of the society of the same age group and engage and support each other, whether it's playing cards, whether it's whatever. But you see, we have to understand that in terms of disasters, persons need to be occupied so that they can distract themselves from the trauma.
Sure.
Are you with me?
Yes.
And so even they too, as a group, engage with each other, whether it's playing dominoes, whether it's cooking for other responders, whatever, that too has a place. That's a form of support. Are you with me? That's a form of helping persons to feel, well, okay, I'm there for you.
Right.
Okay, you're not alone in this thing. Yeah? It's kind of like this.
So does the Dominica Psychological Society then provide that type of training if, say, an organization, say CBN4, decides that, you know, we're technically first responders too in the media because we're always,
Certainly.
we're on the ground as well.
Certainly.
So if we decided that we wanted to train our staff in that psychological first aid, is that something that can be offered?
That's an absolute yes. And, you know, PFA has not been, a lot of people have not, it's kind of new, people are hearing a lot about it, but it's been around for a while. Actually, it dates back up to 1945. That's the time of World War, right? We're talking about. I myself personally did the training since 1991. I did it in Cuba, through the Red Cross, and in Denmark attended the conference in 1991. So I'm certified in PFA, and of course with my work as a mental health provider, you know, I have some training, and as a member of the Dominica Psych Society, and even the other members of the society have done training post-ERICA. You know, so of course together, if you wanted a training now, we could assist in that area.
Definitely.
And I'm sure there are other persons who can. There are other mental health professionals who can provide that.
All right. Well, we'll be back with lots more. We're here with McMillan Cuffy of the Dominica Psychological Society. We're talking about psychological first aid, mental illness, and coming up, we'll also talk about World Mental Health Day. Stay with us right here on CBN4.
What's up with them two?
They can't help it. Everyone gets the freebies with Digicel.
Freebies? Yeah, right.
That's right, it's freebies for everyone with Digicel. Simply top up $20 or more and get your freebies for free talk, 20% more credit, extra megabytes, and more. Only with Digicel.
And welcome back to the CBN4 exclusive, speaking with McMillan Cuffy of the Dominica Psychological Society. Right before the break, we were discussing psychological first aid, and we were talking about post-traumatic stress, one of the things that the Psychological Society is trying to zone in on, because as you said, you're trying to bring more attention to mental illness and how it's impacted Dominica, especially post-ERICA. Now, one of the things is that mental illness, there's a stigma attached to mental illness.
Certainly.
People are ashamed, afraid to seek help. Now tell me, how can we as a society help with that stigma?
Okay, so you're absolutely correct. There is a stigma where mental health is concerned. I always wonder, why is it that persons, once they feel a pain in their stomach or so, or their head, run to doctor, but if they have any kind of thing that just suggests, or someone may just suggest that in local terms, they may be crazy, that they shy away from getting assistance. I'll tell you, we as mental health professionals don't use those terms as crazy matters. You come to us, you present with symptoms, and it's our responsibility that based on the symptoms presented, that as anything else, it has to be diagnosed and treated.
Well, not to trip you, Mr. Cuffy,
Yes.
but at some point, doesn't everyone, though, go through a period in life where they go through some trauma or something that might cause them, not, like you said, we won't use the word crazy, but to have some kind of
Even stress.
psychological...
Even stress.
Right.
I mean, stress, just everyday stress, or you're going for a situation. Sometimes, does that make you crazy? Does that make you mentally ill? No, it does not make you mentally ill. And I don't want to really use those terms crazy or so. It's mental, you're mentally ill, But does stress mean you're mentally ill? No, it does not mean that. It means that you are going through a particular stressful period, and then sometimes you just need somebody's perspective, just a bounce of ideas, maybe get a clearer perspective on it, But as you said, the Dominica Psychological Society, one of our roles, one of our objectives is to try to get rid of that stigma, that taboo that pervades the whole mental health issue. And we want people to feel comfortable that there are professionals, there are trained persons who are able and willing to assist, you understand, and who can do it. And we want people to come forward. We want people to, feel comfortable that and know that their business, whatever they speak to us about, will be respected. And that's where confidentiality comes in. And I think we'll have a follow-up session from tonight where we can talk some more about that. But confidentiality is very, very, very important, especially in small societies like ours, where everybody knows everybody,
right?
And so it's like, if I speak to Mr. Cuffy, how do I know that my business remains with Mr. Cuffy and then tomorrow I don't hear it on the street? And this is a valid concern that anybody should have.
Right.
It's a valid concern, but at the end of the day, we as professionals, we have to be able to give the persons the assurance that we treat your personal stories, your business professionally.
Right.
And I think if people have that assurance, I think people will be more forthcoming, to seek the assistance that they deserve.
Definitely. And it's about maintaining dignity as well, because like you said, we won't use the term crazy, and using terms like that, those things actually keep people from feeling dignified, because anxiety is another thing.
Every day.
People have panic attacks all the time.
Every day.
So maintaining dignity is key as well in refuting that stigma that comes with mental illness.
Absolutely. And so, it's important that you tie out all of that with, psychological first aid, which is the theme. So I want to not go too far away from that as a theme for Mental Health Day. But what we ask in persons is that when persons are trained to do that kind of work, be respectful of persons.
Definitely.
Empathy is key. That's one of your main tools in delivering mental health services. Put yourself in a person's situation. If you were the one in that situation, how would you like to be treated? You understand what I'm saying? The whole thing about mental health is a very humble profession. It's very humble. So, you meet people where they are at. Listening is important. Be polite. Don't intrude in persons, without their permission. So again, because of the stigma and, you know, the whole taboo about mental health, persons are guarded, you know. And sometimes persons really want the help, but they're still scared coming forward because they are afraid that, oh, if SHEENA see me talking to Mr. Cuffy, SHEENA might think,
Right.
oh, something's wrong with me. You understand what I'm saying? So recognizing that, you want to be gentle, you want to seek the person's permission and not just push yourself or intrude on the person's privacy or space.
Right. And judgment is something that people are concerned about. And also, you know, we have the tendency to always want to tell people how to feel. You know, you shouldn't feel that, or you shouldn't feel this way.
Very good.
But this person, their feelings belong to them. We can't really tell them. So people are often scared of being judged.
So we see that all the time, like when persons lose a significant other, you know, a loved one. And, you know, persons mean well, you know, but what we often hear is, don't cry. You know, God is good, you know. Really, when persons are in distress, when persons are mourning, grieving, don't cry. Why? Why shouldn't he or she cry? Nobody has been able to explain that to me. I'm a mental health professional. If I were to lose a loved one, I would cry.
Right.
I would feel some way. Because, and that's healthy. It's very healthy to cry. There's a term that we use in psychology that's called catharsis. Catharsis is the expression of deep emotions. And it's healthy to do that. It helps to release all those, you know, the toxins and everything else the person is going through. So, I mean, I know what people say, they mean well. That's their way of expressing concern and I guess their empathy. But it's all of that I think the Dominica Psychological Society wants to do. I think part of our mission is to help educate people as to how to express that empathy in a more empathetic way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, but we all hear that all the time.
We do. And, you know, just to get back to what we primarily are here to talk about, World Mental Health Day. We haven't really touched on that a whole lot, but tell us more about what is World Mental Health Day and what is the society doing in recognition of World Mental Health Day?
So my very presence here is one of the things that we would like to do to commemorate, to observe World Mental Health Day. But what's World Mental Health Day? It's that day, that one day set aside in observance and to emphasize, to let people know the importance of their own mental health, to promote mental health. Actually, it's a week really in observance of that. It really started on Saturday 8th, which will run up to the 15th. It's a week of World Mental Health Week, but the day itself is today, the 10th of October. But as I said, it is that day set aside to promote awareness of mental health, you know, persons with emotional, psychological well-being, and the Dominica Psychological Society felt it fitting, you know, to be here, to address and to share with the Dominican public, you know, the importance of taking care of their own mental health, and that's what I want to leave with our viewers out there tonight. I would really like to tell people that there is no shame in coming forward. If you believe that there's an issue that you're struggling with, and there's nothing to say, as I said to you, SHEENA, earlier, the fact that you're going through a stressful moment in life does not mean that there's anything wrong with you. You're just experiencing a very stressful moment in life, and you feel like your resources within you isn't sufficient to deal effectively with it, and you think that you can benefit from an outsider who has a more objective view and is able to guide you, give you a space where you can ventilate, to diffuse the negative emotions associated with that stressor or that stressful situation.
A different perspective, a clearer perspective often helps in situations like that. So that is really commendable on the part of the Dominica Psychological Society to be willing to provide that opportunity for those of us in going through everyday life. We have parents with children go every day who can get those stresses when they worry about their children, when, you know, different things like that. But tell us, what else does the Psychological Society have going on throughout the week to emphasize mental health?
Okay, so what we did was yesterday we attended service together as a group, you know. I think it's always important to give thanks and praises, you know, because at the end of the day, that's where our help comes from, you know. And so we felt it was good to start the week, you know, just, you know, coming together as a group and just, you know, sharing that spiritual connection. And we had, you know, as a social thing for us ourselves, met together, had brunch together at the Fortune Hotel. I think that was good for us, you know, camaraderie and so for busy schedules. And this program, as I said tonight, we felt it was fitting to be here tonight, to be part of, to reach as much persons as possible, you know, to share, you know, and let them know it's okay to be here. And then for the rest of the week, something else that we did was on Saturday, we had a meeting, a general meeting, and after that meeting, we had some members go to Jubic. And one of the things that they did was they got some signs, you know, for the people's homes and houses. So now somebody can give a clear address as to not just Jubic, but I'm number 9 Jubic, you know. And you know, you might be surprised that it seemed little, but you'd be surprised to see how appreciative persons were, you know. And I want to just give thanks publicly to our sponsors. I know the Signman was very instrumental in letting that happen. I know that there are other sponsors. I just want to say thank you to all our sponsors. I don't want to call some and don't call anybody else. So thank you very much for your support, for helping us as a society to reach out to persons and to assist persons and to, you know, alleviate that burden, that stress, that distress that persons live with. And I want people to know out there that the Dominica Psychological Services, we are willing to reach out. You know, we have a number, and next week when I meet with you, I'll give you that number. But I want persons to have access to that number so that they can reach us. It's a calling number, and persons, we can call back that. So, you know, we know that some persons sometimes don't have credit on their phone, but we don't want to deprive them of the services. So you can call us, we call you back, and, you know, hear your concerns, and we will refer you to the person we think is best suited to assist you. You know, the good thing about the Dominica Psych Society are we have persons in different specialties, you know, persons, so no matter what you call it, you call it anxiety, you call with depression, you call it just normal distress, whatever, even psychological distress because of things like Eric and so, some persons are still out there. I'm still asking persons to reach out, and we try our best to assist in whatever way we can.
Definitely. Well, Mr. Cuffy, as always, you know, we appreciate you coming through, and we appreciate you just shining a light and drawing attention to something that we all take for granted, our mental health. We all think that we can go through life day to day and not be affected by mental illness, where a lot of us are affected by something as simple, like we said, as stress and anxiety. So it's, like I said, very commendable that the Dominica Psychological Society is drawing so much attention to that and reaching out to persons, you know, and like we've been talking about post-Erica, people are still going through that. People are still suffering mentally. And, you know, another thing that I want to touch on quickly that people probably forget is that even when you're diagnosed with a physical ailment, that affects your mental health as well.
And vice versa.
You know, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So we've had, like, for instance, we've had cancer survivors, and just, you know, we're in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we just had a cancer walk recently. And when people get diagnosed with illnesses like those, so chronic illnesses especially, that affects their mental health on such a level that we take for granted, that they go, they get the treatments for the physical, like you mentioned, but they ignore the mental health.
Exactly, and you know, that's a very important point that you're bringing up, because imagine somebody is diagnosed with a terminal illness. Just imagine, again, empathy. Put yourself in a person's position, just receiving that news, that diagnosis. What are the thoughts going through that person's mind? And with those thoughts, how does that affect their own behavior and their whole being?
Yeah.
You know, and we've seen persons who have gotten the dreaded news that they are suffering from a terminal illness, and they, within days months we see them deteriorate.
Yes.
We see other persons who have gotten that news and they were resilient personalities again. You know, and again the importance of
Definitely.
that support. You know, and again it's commendable that you know you have that that not just breast cancer but that whole cancer awareness. You know, that's going on, supporting persons.
Yes.
Because you're absolutely correct. This is not just a physical ailment. It is also a psychological and emotional ailment where it takes a toll on the entire body. The body is holistic. It's not about the arm or the heart or it's everything.
Definitely.
It's a system, you know. And if mentally one is not well or emotionally one is not well, it will affect you.
It affects recovery. Like you said, we can see some people deteriorate and some people recover so, fantastically.
Yeah.
But part of that is mental health. People don't realize that it's not just because probably the medication didn't work or it worked. It's because that they have that mental capacity.
Exactly.
That
important.
hope,
That's
that
important, of
support
course.
to
Yeah,
get through it.
Resilience. And SHEENA, before we even close up there, I thought of the victims of Erica, even with Matthew, when Matthew was approaching, and just for the hurricane season, because I know it's amazing how Erica has changed persons' perception of not just hurricanes, of any kind of cyclone that's approaching us.
Even when it rains.
Rain.
As soon as people hear rain.
Now, I remember at
Yes.
one point a tropical wave was like, okay, it's just a wave. A trough system was, okay, it's just some rain. But we've seen
Very
that
true.
the kind of damage and the kind of stress that persons have gone through since after Erica. And persons' awareness has just shifted so much is that it does not have to be a hurricane. Once people hear rain,
Yes.
people are
High
hyper
on-
vigilant. People are alert, and some persons re-experience those same feelings that they experienced during Erica. Why? I spoke about post-traumatic stress.
Yes.
And so anything that resembles or make them remember, they have those flashbacks, Erica and what they went through, persons get all hypervigilant and persons get startled and persons are frightened. And all of those are responses because there's something that they still need to deal with. It's like, how can I feel like it's not because it's raining that it's going to be catastrophic like Erica?
Right.
But some people still feel like once they see rain. But I must say, having said that, we've also seen, and that's a whole different topic for a whole different other discipline, but we have to admit that we've seen the climatic conditions and how things have changed out there.
Right.
When you see a trough system and dumping so much inches of water and the kind of disaster situations it creates, people they must be mindful. But I'm just saying that on a psychological perspective, that you cannot. I can see why persons get so startled, so frightened, because still that Erica experience was really a major, traumatic event for a lot of persons. And I remember a lot of, I couldn't help but to remember the persons, the victims of Erica and what they may be going through, what they're experiencing, just hearing another storm is approaching us. Just that they need to know. I'm telling you, Erica has changed the mindsets of a lot of Dominicans.
Definitely.
And even more so that, and I'm reaching out to people out there, the mental health professionals, not just Dominican Psych Society, a lot of persons still need a lot of psychological intervention. And I would really like to promote psychological first aid. I think it is fitting. I think what it does is that it takes us away from not just the mental health professional, but able to train the average person in basic crisis counseling, to be able to assist, to give that support, first responder,
on the ground, you reach your first before the professional. That's all it says, you know. Your first responder, you happen to be there on the site, on the scene, before the professional arrives. And then you're able to provide some support. Give some water, give some comfort, a blanket, something, say some kind words. That's what it is. So I really, really like to promote it. I want to wish Dominicans the very best. I would really like to promote and encourage again people. There's no shame in your mental health, in your emotional well-being. There are persons out there who are willing and are able and qualified to assist you. Please, I'm asking you to reach out and take care of your mental health. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss. You just heard there from Mr. McMillan Cuffy of the Dominica Psychological Society, putting out that plea for people to pay closer attention to their mental health, not be ashamed of seeking the help that they need. Mr. Cuffy, thank you so much, as usual, for joining us on CBN4. Of course, we'll follow up with you as you continue to emphasize how important it is to protect our mental well-being. Thanks for joining us here on CBN4 for this exclusive. Once again, I'm SHEENA Harry.